should the Raiders trade for star pass rusher Trey Hendrickson, Aiden O'Connell on the chopping block, and free agents the Raiders should consider signing? Yo, what is up, Raider Nation? It's your boy Samora back at it again with yet another video. If this is the very first time you guys are coming across this channel and you love Raiders content just like this, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification icon button. That being said though, let's talk about Trey Hendrickson. Now I know a lot of people have been talking about him for the past 24 hours, especially since the team has come out and reportedly said that they're open to talking about trades. And of course, like I say over and over and over again, whenever there's a big player that could be traded, we know that the Raider Nation and even myself could be thinking whether or not the Raiders should bring him in. And since then, we have clearly found out what the asking price could be for the Cincinnati Bengals. According to Diana Rossini, she tweeted out that teams that have recently acquired about Bengals star pass rusher were told that Cincinnati's asking price included a young defensive player and a 2026 first-round pick. According to lead sources, the player heading back does not have to be a pass rusher. Now, what you're basically saying is that we would have to trade some assets away to get Trey Hendrickson, and on top of that, we're still going to have to pay him because he's not going to be coming over here for cheap. And I know for a fact that Trey Hendrickson, wherever he goes, is going to look for a big payday, and rightfully so, because in the past 2 seasons, he was able to record a total of 17.5 sacks. And really just thinking about possibly having him over here in the silver and black alongside of Max Crosby, oh my goodness, how crazy would this defensive line be? Now, I don't know whether or not the Raiders really do need to go out and get another star pass rusher, but just thinking about it, I know can get a lot of Raider fans really excited, especially if you want this team to be a win now team, which I don't really know this team will be, but I know adding a guy like Trey Hendrickson to the defensive line will definitely speed up the process. Since 2021, both Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson has combined for 99.5 sacks, 629 pressures, 225 quarterback hits, and 128 tackles for loss. And according to Cameron Sheath of PFSN, he basically said that the thought of pairing up Trey Hendrickson with a 4-time Pro Bowler and Max Crosby may be too tempting to ignore. And right now, the Raiders actually do have all the resources to acquire a guy like him. But the big question, like always, is will the Raiders actually get it done? Or will the Raiders even entertain this? And that's one reason why I really don't think that the Raiders will do this. Now, should they? Of course, I will say yes, as a Raider fan, this is a move that should be done if we want to make this defensive line one of, if not the best defensive line. It not only helps the front seven, but it also helps the secondary, which we know has struggled so far in preseason. Even though it's just preseason, we all expect a lot more out of this defense, especially in an AFC West that is filled with a lot of offensive talent. Now, since Diana posted that tweet, I think that the asking price has been dropped down just a little bit according to multiple sources, because at the end of the day, I don't think that Cincinnati has any leverage in this battle, because whichever team does get Trey Hendrickson will also have to pay him, and knowing that Hendrickson doesn't want to be there anymore and he's looking to go somewhere else, it's up to whoever wants to trade for him to give up what they can. And I feel like if anything, the Raiders could give up at most a 2nd-round pick, and 2 young players that a lot of people are looking at is definitely Malcolm Kuntz and Tyree Wilson. In my honest opinion, as far as the Raiders go, as far as Pete Carroll, I don't think that they will get it done. I don't think that they would even entertain it, because looking at the players that we have right now and knowing the history that we have as the Raiders, especially the Las Vegas Raiders, we haven't had any luck with star players, especially on the defensive line. Look at Chandler Jones, look at Christian Wilkins, and even thinking about bringing in Trey Hendrickson, yes, it would be great, especially on paper, but Pete Carroll is known for using his young players and getting the most out of them. And knowing the price that we have for Malcolm Kuntz right now, who still has a lot of great football ahead of him, I don't think that the Raiders would want to make that move. Now, Tyree Wilson, on the other hand, that could be a player that we could move on from, and I would be okay with moving on from. But as far as Malcolm Kuntz, I feel like just the money alone and just the fact that he has a great relationship with Max Crosby, and the last time we seen him play with Max Crosby, he was dominating. Then again, he's young and he's going to be due for a contract year next year, and who knows if the Raiders will be able to keep him. But if the Raiders want to be in win now mode right now, and they want to put together the best defense, the best front line, especially to help the secondary out, then this would be the way to go. And me being as selfish as I am as a Raider fan, yes, I would love to have Trey Hendrickson. I feel like that would be a no-brainer for any Raider fan. Of course, it's just going to cost a lot of money and it's going to cost a lot of draft capital, but it's doable and the Raiders can get it done. So knowing that, the 2 big options for the Raiders will definitely be, 1, trading away a 2nd-round pick and trading Malcolm Kuntz, or trading a second-round pick and Tyree Wilson for Trey Hendrickson. Now, that being said, though, Raider Nation, let me know what you guys think. Would you guys trade for Trey Hendrickson and bring him over here to the Silver and Black? Who would you give up for him, and what would you give up? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, moving on to somebody I feel like might be on the chopping block, maybe even traded before the season does start, is quarterback Aidan OConnell. Now, you guys know how I feel about him. I wasn't really high on him for the past couple of years, especially when we drafted him and he was going back and forth with Jimmy Garoppolo. But going into this season, bringing in Geno Smith, we already know that Geno Smith right now is a clear-cut QB1. And we know that the preseason was going to be a big stage for Cam Miller and Aidan OConnell to see who could be the quarterback too. Now, we've been hearing nothing but great things about him in training camp, but when we've seen him at game time, he has really struggled. And these first 2 preseason games, Aidan OConnell has looked like a shell of himself. Now, I know you could possibly blame the different regimes that we had, the different head coaches, the different offensive schemes, but just watching him, and even with the eye test, he looks slow in the pocket, and the fact that he just holds on to the ball too long, especially this last game, I was frustrated watching him out there against the 49ers because he definitely killed the momentum. And don't just take my word for it. Pete Carroll even stated this after the game and pointed out Aidan OConnell.
I thought Aiden continued to a little bit. We're not quite as fast when he's playing. We don't play as quick to the from huddle to the snap. Still trying to work that out, and made a poor choice on the throw for the pick. Unfortunately, at a crucial time, that was tough. Just the guy was covered, and if he had to throw it away or take off, we would have preferred that.
And if that's not embarrassing enough, heck, even our ops got a lot of love for him because he'd just be sharing the ball with the defenses.
I read it perfectly. I just broke underneath him, and then, I think, what was the quarterback's name? O'Connell. He threw me a perfect pass right into my hands. So, I got to thank him for that, for sure.
So far in these 2 preseason games, Aidan OConnell has went 33 for 53 for 343 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I would be really surprised if Aidan OConnell was still on this roster come week 1. Whether or not he gets waived or traded away, I feel like Aidan OConnell's days are numbered in the Silver and Black. And it does suck to say because he's still a young quarterback. But to see how bad he looks out there really is frustrating. And I know if Pete Carroll is saying that about him right now and saying that he's really killing the momentum out there is not really a good thing. And if anything was to happen to Geno Smith, knock on wood, can we rely on Aidan OConnell? I don't think so. Now, Cam Miller, on the other hand, has a really high upside. We've seen some great things, and even this last game didn't really look too good, but I'd still take Cam Miller over Aidan OConnell right now. Now, today, we got to hear from Aidan OConnell, and he basically responded to Pete Carroll's comments.
Yes, good questions. Kind of my job, getting the play call and then communicating as clearly and succinctly as possible, and then getting out of the huddle. I think we definitely been trying to do that in practice and putting the play clock a little lower on the time to get us in and out of the huddle and get to the line of scrimmage and make our checks faster. So yeah, just trying to push ourselves in practice, I think, is a big part of that and translates to the game. The first game was honestly 2 ones that I wish I could have back, and felt just down about and felt like I put our team in a bad position. This last one was tough. I was trying to throw the ball with anticipation, and the guy made a good play and obviously had a good sense of what route we were running, and so at all junctures, it's my job to take care of the ball and not put our defense in a bad spot and to continue to move the offense. And so, especially in that situation where this past weekend in the red zone and, with a good field goal kicker and Daniel, hopefully have points on the board. So just trying to, like you said, take care of the ball. It's ultimately my responsibility. Obviously, it comes in different waves about when an interception happens, why it happens, but got to do a better job of that.
Now, who knows what the future will hold for Aidan OConnell, but I just don't see him being on this roster. And if he is, then damn. Hopefully nothing happens to Geno Smith, but Geno is doing his thing. He looks fluid out there. We've seen some great things out there so far in preseason and even at training camp. So I feel like the QB1 spot is locked. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens in this final preseason game to see whether or not the Raiders should keep Aidan OConnell around or move on from him. But Raider Nation, let me know your thoughts on this. Am I overreacting to it? Is there another quarterback out there that we could bring in? Because I feel like that should be the route that we go in, and just bringing in another veteran quarterback just to be a backup over here. I don't know who it could be, but just anybody, honestly. That being said, moving on to my next topic for today, I want to talk about some free agents that the Raiders should possibly bring in. Now, We seen our defense out there this past game. They didn't really look too good. Well, I would say the first team unit looked pretty solid, but outside of that, we don't really have any depth in the secondary. And we struggled a lot, not only in this past game, but the week prior. And it just shows that the Raiders lack a lot of depth in the secondary, whether in the cornerback room or even the safety room. Now, we got to see Isaiah pull them out and even Jeremy Chin come away with interceptions in back-to-back games. And I feel like they should still be the starters moving forward. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't shy away from bringing in some more depth in the secondary. And some players that I'm going to talk about, I think is kind of like the same players that everybody's been talking about for the past couple of weeks, months, heck, ever since free agency opened up. And one of those names have been Asante Samuels. Now, I'm not going to talk about these guys too much, but Asante is a guy that we've talked about a lot. Now, I know a lot of people are going to talk about his height, that he's not Pete Carroll's prototypical cornerback to have on the roster, but he's still, as far as a depth piece, I think he'd fit in real well with this defense. I just don't know why he's been on the market for so long. And that goes for the next person I'm going to talk about, Justin Simmons. Of course, I know we brought in Jamal Adams, and I thought that he was going to be one of the safeties, at least to add more depth there. But he quickly got converted to a linebacker, and he's been doing a great job since then. Outside of Isaiah Polamau, Chris Smith, and even Jeremy Chin, with Lonnie Johnson going down, there's not really much there in the secondary. And I feel like Justin Simmons would definitely fit this defense perfectly. I just don't know why it's taken so long for the Raiders to even think about bringing them in. And he doesn't even have to start. At worst, if he does bad, then he doesn't have to start, or we could just waive him once the season comes around. And the last person I want to talk about is Rasul Douglas, a former Raider that has played for this team, but has been a solid veteran wherever he went. And coming over here to add him to the cornerback room, I think wouldn't hurt at all. Now, I know that there's other players that the Raiders could possibly go out and get and bring in, but those are three names that definitely stand out to me to at least help out the secondary, because we do need the help there and we do need the depth there. But with that said, what other free agents are you guys thinking about possibly bringing over here to the silver and black? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, with that said though, Raider Nation, until the next video, this your boy Simone Raider and your boys, yeah.